Hi guys, I've said before that Brexit for unionists like the DUP, when we get down to the nitty-gritty, was about a hatred of the EU and Ireland. They were told in the run-up to the referendum that it could upset the delicate balance there, that it could result in a border being placed somewhere. And when this issue was brought up with Brexiteers in Great Britain, they ignored it. And when this issue was brought up with Brexiteers in Northern Ireland, they attacked anyone raising such a concern as being on the side of the IRA. Now, Sammy Wilson on Friday was speaking during the debate on his good friend Jim Allister's bill to stop the Irish sea border. And he brought up something we haven't heard in a long time, Article 16. But of course, when we're talking about Sammy Wilson, it involves a bit of hypocrisy. Have a listen.
He mentions, has the other side ever broken the treaty? They did, of course. They did it in a fit of pique and rage and vengeance against the United Kingdom during the COVID crisis. They caught themselves on very quickly because they realised just exactly what they had done. But the fact of the matter is that in the mind of the EU, this treaty is not as sacrosanct as what the member is trying to make it in the case of the UK. We should not even think about breaking the Windsor Framework and the protocol. The EU, when it's convenient, have shown that they will.
Okay, the EU did not break the Windsor Framework. What he's talking about here is Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, what happened was, back in 2020 or 2021, during the release of the vaccines to deal with COVID, there was a concern about certain vaccines going into Northern Ireland and remember, Northern Ireland is not part of the EU, but it is part of the single market when it comes to goods. So there was a concern. And officials within the European Commission considered invoking Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, Article 16, as I said before, and I haven't spoken about it in a while, suspends part of the protocol in order to deal with an issue. I'll get to the hypocrisy in a moment. So, the EU was within its rights to invoke Article 16 if it was concerned about an aspect of the protocol. Now, what happened was the Irish government got on the phone and said, don't do this, or please don't do this, and then it was reconsidered. Now, Article 16 was not invoked because Article 16 takes time to invoke. All of this happened within a day. So there was a consideration, and the European Commission decided against it after that. Now, the hypocrisy is that Sammy Wilson, the DUP, Boris Johnson and the Conservatives kept talking about invoking Article 16 for a whole range of issues. Did they actually invoke Article 16? No, they didn't. But they constantly threatened, and members of the DUP asked the British government to invoke Article 16 on a number of occasions, dozens of occasions. So when Sammy Wilson talks about how the EU was willing to break an agreement, well, he was demanding that his government break the agreement. Boris Johnson talked about breaking the agreement. Jacob Rees-Mogg talked about breaking the agreement. So when you talk about, well, the EU was willing to break the agreement and didn't care about the Windsor Framework, they had considered it. That consideration lasted a few hours, it seemed, and then it ended. But you were demanding on a number of occasions, almost every time you were in Parliament during that period, you were demanding that the British government invoke Article 16 to suspend the protocol. But of course, as we know, Article 16 does not suspend the protocol. It only suspends part of it in order for the rest of it to continue and for you to resolve that issue. So I thought this was put to bed, but obviously it hasn't been. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.